and we're going to have Heidi Roy joining us. She is new to the FSHD Society from what I'm reading on my copy here. This is your first year with the FSHD Society. Wow, that's amazing, Heidi. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for doing this, Tim. This is great.
Yeah, you like this? Yeah.
I do. I've been having this time of my life all day. The stories are amazing.
Yeah, they are. The people are just phenomenal, and that's like why I really enjoy this podcast, radio-y stuff. I really don't love the talking part. I really like the listening part. I love hearing the stories and the interaction with everybody between the patients and the researchers and all that. And meeting new people such as yourself is also probably at the top of the list for me, because this is somebody I've not met and have not had a chat before. So this is awesome. This is great.
This is great. I've been hearing about you since I started back in January. So this is great to finally put a face to the name. And I'm used to being the one asking questions and hearing stories. Oh. So this is all new.
All new. Okay, so you're on the other side. Well, then that leads into that first question. What's your role at the FSHD Society?
I am the director of stewardship. I came on board last January. I work closely with Mark. My job is basically to work with our donors, because without our donors, we couldn't do what we do. My job is basically to make sure I'm supposed to be meeting with them. That was part of the job, was to be flying around the country, meeting with our donors, making sure they're getting what they need from us, because it's a partnership. We need to make sure that they get, whether it's reports or it's the latest updates on research or events. We need to make sure they're getting everything that they need so that they can continue to support us. Of course, with COVID, it's kind of changed things around.
Yeah, that kind of hit right out of the gate for you, right? If you started in January, right? And that was like one of the first big curveballs you had to deal with on top of the new job.
Right. Because the plan was that I would be flying and meeting our donors like every other week or so. I would be around the country. Mark and I were able to get in 2 trips. So I went to Texas with him for a few days, and then again in Florida. And I just got to meet Heloise. I had dinner with Heloise, so that was kind of fun. She is a doll. But then, COVID hit and everything was put on hold. And so we just, as the word is of the year, we had to pivot, and we've had to make some arrangements and just, little changes, and we're doing it.
What did you do prior to FSHD Society?
I have been in development, in nonprofit development, for 15 years. 15 years ago, my youngest was about to go to school, and I was a stay-at-home mom, so I decided to go to work, and I had been volunteering at the MS Society. So I started there as a coordinator, stayed there for 8 years. I was in charge, by the time I left, I was the director of development, and I was in charge of a $2 million walk campaign, and had some amazing relationships with those people. And I realized I needed to continue that. But after 8 years, there was a big change in the society. And so I actually went to QRSMA, which is based in Chicago. It's a little grassroots. And I was fortunate enough to be at the society at QRSMA when Spinraza, which was the first drug for the kids, came on the market in December of 2016. So when I met with Mark for my interview, I told him, that was a once in a lifetime thing, to be part of a team that got to announce the Spinraza, the first medicine for SMA, was available now to these kids. To be able to do that for FSHD as well, that would just be, the end all be all.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you've been a part of some massively successful groups, and so happy that you brought that energy here. That's phenomenal. The thing that I hear though is like, it always seems to be then that you're about a job that impacts lives, right? You're not just, hey, I go to work, I do this. Like, it feels like you have a job with some true deep purpose.
And I need to have that. That's, I always say, we work in the nonprofit world. We don't make $1 million. We don't take over companies. We don't take over the world. But at the end of the day, you get to go home and know that whatever you did today made a difference in someone's life, and it's moving the things forward. And it's the gratitude that I get from that. And, there's always those days that you're like, but then you get an email or you get a phone call and you're like, okay, this is why we do what we do. And I have to say that was what I was feeling this morning when you were interviewing Chris Carino. I've never met him. I've heard about him. And the conversation was so natural and it was so informative, and it was putting a face to the name, which I think is so important. The faces, you know, you can hear FSH and you don't really know what it is. And then you see the faces and you hear their stories. And it's just like, this is why I do what I do. This is why we do what we do.
Yeah, Chris Carino, he's kind of I got kind of a guy crush on him a little bit.
I can see why.
He's just, you know, he's got the great radio voice. He calls sports for a living. He is, you know, in his own home area, you know, where he grew up calling the sport he loves. Getting paid for it. It's like, oh, yeah. He was one of the first people that I looked up. I actually Googled famous people that have FSHD. Click. You know, I'm like, who else is out there? And he was like one of the first names. I'm like, who's this guy? Like, you know, I'm like, darn it, too bad he's, you know, with the Nets. You know, like, I don't know if I like the Nets, but all right. So I kind of followed him. Yeah, right. You just got to deal with it and listen to some of his games and just the way he calls a game. And like I said, I'm really big on like listening to people's stories, but also that's where I've picked up on. I'm trying to always do this, you know, if it's the radiothon or the shows or excuse me, past podcasts that I've had and currently work on is, how can I be better? How can I interview someone better? So stealing from how Chris Carino calls a game and interviews players and then other sources, but he is one of them that is like, I kind of want to copy some of that and steal it really. and then try to use it. So yeah, so when I saw him on the ticker there, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be a fun one. I'm like, really, only 20 minutes? I'm like,
well, that's what I thought too. I'm like, they could have talked all day.
Oh yeah. And he was like,
it was totally great for us to watch.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, along with all the other guests. But I'll definitely never be shy and say that the researchers I'm also in awe of. I feel so intimidated interviewing them because I'm like, they're so smart. And what kind of question
it's a little intimidating.
Am I going to ask them that is so thought-provoking that's going to make them go, oh my gosh, you know, that's a great question. And when I get one of those and like they say it, I'm like kind of fist pumping where no one can see. I'm like, yes, got one.
Yes.
You know, I got a good question. So
pat yourself on the back for that one.
Just try, right? This is going to be, you asked me like, I wonder what we're going to talk about for 20 minutes. I know it's totally threw you out there. And I'm like, oh yeah, we'll definitely hit something. Cause there's this one exercise I thought maybe it might be fun to do with you. It's something I stole from a positive thinker that I know. His name is John Gordon. And he asked this to some of his guests on his podcast. And I love it. It's the 3 H's. So maybe you've heard this before.
No.
And putting you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Your hero, your hardship, and your highlight.
Oh, my hero. Gotta be my dad. I am daddy's girl to the end. He is just, now you're gonna get me crying, Tim. Damn.
Sorry.
No, my dad, he is the guy that is always there, 100%, supports me, good, bad, and indifferent. There's always a phone call I can make to my dad. So he's definitely my hero. My hardship.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to bring that one back to the work world.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart to see that there's so much that can be done, but there's so much that we, not that we're not doing, it's just that there's time and there's research and things. And it's just, I want to help everybody. I want everybody to get to the end point where they have a cure or a treatment. So that would be my hardship. And what was the last H?
Highlight.
Okay, my highlight would be successfully raising 2 boys single.
Oh, nice. I like that one.
I have a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old sons, and it's been interesting. They keep it very interesting. But I guess that would be my biggest accomplishment. We're still here. We like each other.
Right. Yeah, that's always key. I mean, I kind of chuckle because upstairs where I'm doing this all day, I have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old up there doing God knows what.
Boys?
Yes, boys.
Oh, so it's like WWE in your living room, no matter if there's something involved that yeah. People who don't have two boys don't get it. My mother is horrified. She's like, that's normal. I'm like, that's normal. There's no blood. It's fine.
Yeah, that means they love each other.
Right.
That is what that's about.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for doing that little exercise. I thought it might be fun. I kind of wrote that down when I was doing research on you. Yes, I was Googling you like so many others, and I thought, oh, this might be fun with Heidi to kind of.
Thank you.
Another question I know that people might be asking as we're asking for money. I mean, that's just, there's no, sometimes you try to sugarcoat it, but really that's what we're asking for. And on Giving Tuesday with a match out there of 175,000,
Yep.
getting the number thermometer, dollar thermometer. I wish I had one, right? A big one to see it rise up.
Right.
Where are we at? We might get some people go, well, where does all that money go? Like, what are they going to do with the funds that we raise? So maybe you're the person to ask.
I am. So like, if for everybody who was on this morning, Mark had said, and I'm going to reiterate that, next year there's going to be so many clinical trials coming up, and we're going to need 2 to 3 times the amount of donors and donations that we have now. So our big push in 2021 is going to be to activate our community, to get a broader base, and use our money, because you know as well as everyone that our goal is in 2025 that we have that we can present a disease-modifying treatment to our families. So that's what, that's our big push. And like someone had said earlier, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was, FSHD doesn't stop, but we haven't either. COVID has really kicked us, but we have been so fortunate with our donors that they have continued to support us. And so, we're moving forward, and next year we're going to, hit the ground running as we have every year, no matter what we have to do to pivot or, turn to online. And, but we're going to do what we need to do to make our goal of 2025.
So do you have a clock in your pocket on your phone going like Mark does?
No, I think Mark is the only one, and he pulls that out at staff meetings. Okay, guys, This is where we are.
Yeah. It is inspirational, and it means a lot that, if you said, Mark, when Mark interviewed me, and obviously you guys got along, you got the job, qualifications obviously are all there and this and that, but that speaks volumes to me because I know what Mark's about. So that means that's probably what Heidi's about. And to have kind of the 1-2 punch, it seems that's pretty favorable on our side. I really like that.
Thank you, Tim. It was interesting. Mark, I got the call when I had applied, and they said, could you do like a 10 or 15-minute phone call with Mark? I said, sure. 48 minutes later, I'm like, Mark, I gotta go. Sorry. And then I went in for like a 4-hour interview. And when we went to Texas, Beth was with us, and we had, I think it was like a 4-hour drive to a donor and 4 hours back. And there was no silence in the car. I have learned so much about Mark. Mark and I just chat. We spent so much time in a car together. And it's great because Mark will go in there and he does his thing so well. And then I come in and it's interesting. We're a great team. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I'm excited to see where the rest of this
and I can tell you that we're over $40,000, well over $40,000.
We are right now.
We are
live and late breaking. I love
live and late breaking.
I love it. We just got to keep that meter going up. We have to do that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to see more of you then, Heidi. Hi.
Yes, my plan is that once we have a safe vaccine, we'll be back on planes and we'll be meeting everybody face to face, and that's the plan. And if not, we'll be doing lots of Zooms and lots of phone calls.
My goodness. I know. It's like a love-hate relationship I have with Zoom,
Right. I don't think I've ever been on like maybe 3 times, prior to doing this. And now it's like, it's a daily thing.
Yeah. And it is needed. I mean, I never thought I'd actually do a baseball practice through Zoom, and I did. So, if I figure if I can do that, I can sit in a chair and talk to people.
Right. You're doing a great job.
Well, thanks, Heidi, for joining us and being a part of the telethon and doing everything you do for FSHD Society. Welcome aboard. We're so proud and happy to have you here.
Thank you. And when it's safe again, I'll meet you in person. We'll do lunch.
Sounds great. Bye,
Tim.